Hi everyone, it's Megan at Manifesting Me. Thanks so much for joining. For those of you who don't know me, I write, talk about, and teach manifesting, and I also connect in with people's energies to help them understand better who they are at their core. Today I want to talk about relationships coming and going in our lives, and whether that's a romantic relationship, friendships, family connections, could be work relationships. I think one of the things that I really enjoy about having this understanding of life and how it works is that I get to take full accountability for everything that happens in my life. So I can look at my thoughts, my feelings, and understand what's happening when just experiences show up or don't show up. And that's something that gives me a lot of peace because I like to know why. I'm somebody who is curious, and so I want to know, why is this happening? So with that in mind, the thing that I want to talk about, I'll give an example from my life and just hopefully to demonstrate a way that we can all understand better maybe what's happening for us in any given moment. So I'm going to mention a friendship of mine. This was somebody that I worked with back early in my career, in my days of advertising. And, I was in my 20s, he was in his 30s. We both came together. We had to work together, but we came together as friends because I had some kind of tumultuous stuff going on in my life. He had the same going on in his life at slightly different times, but we came together and bonded to support each other and realized very quickly that we had a great brother and sister relationship, and it was wonderfully comforting. We stayed friends for about a decade, and despite moving on to different jobs and in different relationships and different things happening, we managed to keep in touch and stay close, really. So I saw him through 2 divorces and 2 new marriages. He got to hear about my dating woes and different relationships I was involved in, and we fit together, and that's such a beautiful thing when you find somebody that, and the term I use is one that you're in resonance with. So a decade goes by, and kind of toward the end of our friendship, because it's been 8 or 9 years since we've been friends, and what happened for me anyway was that toward the end of the friendship, I started to feel like we were losing resonance. So we would get together, and he was somebody who loved to talk and tell stories, which is such a great gift. But the things he was talking about, they didn't align for me. And, so I'd sit there being a polite person and just kind of like nod and laugh, and, because he would make me chuckle, but, he would dominate the conversation for a good hour and then be like, oh, we should talk about you. Which is fine. I'm a good listener, so it's fine. But for sure, I had other friendships that I drew a lot more energy from and made me feel more invigorated. And so I would say that I felt like I was more in resonance with people who just liked to talk more about spirituality and positivity and the good things in the world, and what we can do to change ourselves and our lives, and working with energy, all that stuff. So he was certainly open to talking about some of it, but it was usually in terms of he would have a problem and he would want me to help him solve it. So long story short, we never need a reason. When something doesn't feel right, it's just not right. And that goes along with some of the greatest, simplest advice that was ever given to me, and that I've carried with me and still serves as my GPS, which is good feels good, bad feels bad. Things that are good for us and aligned with who we are and on the path that we're on and will carry us forward even further, those are good things. Keep them in your life. If you're having bad feelings, then that's stuff that isn't in alignment and it's not resonating. And so, when I'm feeling bad, I know it's time to course correct. And spending time with him was starting to feel not as good. So, it wasn't feeling awful. But isn't that the way things are in life sometimes, is that, at least for me, it doesn't feel awful, and I've got a pretty high tolerance for discomfort in situations, and so I can kind of stick it out. And then there's part of me that goes, and I'd love to know who relates with this, you know what, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough. Maybe I'm not being a good enough friend. Maybe I'm not blah, 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 blah. But honest to God, sometimes relationships run their course and they were with us because we were in resonance at the time. We served each other and a need that each of us had or needs. And then when it's time to move on and grow, sometimes relationships are no longer a fit. And rather than resisting that, I've learned to embrace it and just use it as an understanding. It's a guidepost on my path to go, yeah, I guess I've outgrown that type of relationship or that particular person and what we represented to each other. We weren't able to grow together, and therefore our paths diverged. So, in any case, with this particular person, I was getting those inklings and not acting on them. I've learned the universe often has to grab me by the shoulders and shake me really hard in order for me to say, oh, okay, now it's time to change course. Got it. And so I had purchased my first house and I was over the moon about it. We weren't keeping it as close of touch at that time, but would get together maybe, 2 or 3 times a year. And so I reached out and, he's like, oh yeah, I should come by and see your house. It's like, yeah, why don't you? Why don't you come over? I'll make us lunch. I'll give you, a quick tour of the house and we can just catch up so that we know what's going on. He was newly married and just his wife, God bless her, was not somebody who saw me at the time I was single. And so I think somehow I didn't fit into her picture of what friends for her husband look like. And so he arrives at my house and we have a great meal. I made some delicious Thai dish and, then I gave him the 10-cent tour of the house and we sat back down kind of toward the end of our visit. And then he looks at me real seriously and he says, this is really hard for me to say, but he said, I've been given an ultimatum and I just can't be friends with you anymore. So I was stunned. I was stunned because that's not what I was expecting to hear. And, and he says it to me, and he had tears in his eyes, and I felt bad for him and felt bad for me and our friendship ending. And so I just, whatever I said to him, it was basically, well, you have to do what you have to do. And, good luck. And it was a heartfelt moment. And, so he left my house and we didn't talk after that. I mean, true to what he was asked, which was to not have contact with me anymore. He needed to do that. And I understood. We thought maybe at some point, somewhere in the future, we might be able to connect again, and it's not happened. And so I trust that the timing is, we're still not in resonance. But after he left, I didn't sit there and stew and hop on the phone with anybody who would listen and say, my God, you wouldn't believe what that jackass did. Instead, I just thought, yeah, I was manifesting that we weren't in resonance anymore and that our friendship probably wouldn't last. And I wasn't willing to act on it immediately. And so the universe grabbed me by the shoulders. People will come and go. And if you can be honest with yourself, and if you're somebody who really does believe that you're creating every experience in your life through what you think and what you feel, you can certainly dig deep to say, you know what, I know why this is happening. And I'm not saying any of this to say that people or relationships are disposable, because that's not how I look at it. I look at it truly as we are always drawing to us those people and things that are a vibrational match for where we are in life right now. And there are people who grow with us and their vibrations change along with ours. And so we're able to kind of keep doing this cosmic dance that is life. And there's other people who we stop being in resonance with one another and we simply drift away. And I've made peace with that. There's certainly times that I'll look and say, oh, my heart aches a little bit. I wish I could be in touch with that person. And then I breathe through it and I go, but there's a reason. There's a reason that, if we were meant to connect, we would. And I've seen that too. I've seen people from the past come knocking on the door when I've been thinking about them really strongly, and there's been a reason for us to be in resonance for a moment or a few moments or pick up again where we left off. So I trust that, and I hope you will too. I would love to hear comments, read some comments from you guys. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.